Hello, everyone. Hope you're enjoying your Sunday wherever you are across the globe. My name is Tim Akilashvili, CEO of Amadev Pharma, an analytics agency that's bringing the elements of sports and data science together, going beyond analogies that all organizations use to drive performance. I'm also host of the fourth annual Medical Innovation Olympics event, which is kicking off in 1 week. And I want to talk to you about this event. And I want you to share it with your friends, with your colleagues, leaders across the globe. If you're in healthcare, as a consultant, employee, founder, nonprofit, okay, this is the place to be over the next 16 days from October 6th to the 21st. So as we get closer to the event, I'm going to be going live more often. I'm calling this the Medical Innovation Olympics Marathon. All right. We have a number of incredible speakers, competitors from all over the globe, and scientists who are joining this community of healthcare champions that we've created. And so I thought today I would share some of the highlights from our prior events. This event has grown from being a medical affairs only event to now include 6 innovation tracks across drugs, devices, diagnostics, med tech, marketing, and medical affairs as well, based on the kinds of concepts and submissions that we've received in the previous years. So the event is growing. We have more investors than ever before now among our expert judges, industry leaders who are expecting some of the best founders who have concepts or products. So if you don't have an organized entity or a startup, and you're an employee, you're a student, you're a fellow in any one of those 6 ideas, and you have a concept, this is the place to bring it to life and to improve it, because you're going to be guaranteed that by the time you leave from this event, our expert judges will make sure that your concept moves forward, okay, makes significant improvement, and increases the likelihood of gaining voice, gaining resources, funding, if that's your goal as well. All right, so let's start with the last presentation from last year when the event had concluded, and we had our keynote speakers who were Bob Beamon, once longest world record holder in the long jump, Olympic record holder to this day, who chose to join us. He was our keynote speaker at the opening ceremony, but he wanted to join this community and address it, as well as Gary Hall Jr., type 1 diabetes patient advocate, as well as a 10-time Olympic medalist, 5-time Olympic gold medalist in 3 successive Olympic Games. All right, so let's just get a sense of the spirit that we created, okay, with our Olympic gold medalists, as well as some of the competitors, some of the winners who you're going to see as well, and judges too. All right, so enjoy. So we're at 2:00, and I want to announce a Olympic legend, last year's keynote speaker, special guest this year again, Gary Hall Jr., type 1 patient advocate, board member, and founder, Gary Hall Jr. Let's give Gary a warm Innovation Olympics welcome, everyone. Gary, first of all, I am so grateful that you found the time. This was a completely optional. Thank you for believing in this event and what we're trying to create. Bring sports and science together to drive better performance, more accountability in today's competitive world. Thank you for being
As there are fans in sport, I am a fan of medical affairs and innovation. And so it's my pleasure to be checking in and cheering on the contestants and learning something along the way.
Great, absolutely. So I want to invite the competitors, expert judges, ask any questions. This is also just maybe a chance to be inspired, right? It's a very rare opportunity. Look, I want to tell you, Gary, that I throughout the year, right, since last year's keynote, right, from time to time, I check in with you to share an article that I've written, for example, where I talk about why I go to work as if it were a sport, and bring many different examples to try to bring, merge different sides of the business to address current needs, right? And your comments and your feedback in your busy time are extremely inspirational, right? To me, I know I've done that throughout the year. I've checked in. I know how busy you are, and you must be, but I appreciate your continued support, finding time to make those comments, even privately on a lot of the work, on the content that I share, with that same hope of inspiring my friends, my leaders, and peers. So you've become a mentor to me personally, and I'm only grateful for that.
You're very generous with compliments. Thank you. It's always interesting to me to learn of what you're up to, and I'll continue to follow.
Absolutely. Thank you. That means a lot, because my commitment and my responsibility, I feel, is not only to my family, my friends, right, who want to see that I deliver impact and this event grows in significance and in quality, but also it's to you and to you for your time, to Bob Beeman, to Chris Cook, who was our first keynote speaker, an Olympian. Progress and success are the only two directions of my compass, all my entire life also. And I've always done it with sportsmanship. Okay. And I've kept competitors who didn't follow the same sportsmanship also accountable. And I've faced troubles, but I'm absolutely clear from my conscience that the interest that I had and the reception that I received from many people and supporters over my life. And some of the stories that you told last year were the ones that I shared also during the opening ceremony this year, as we build a bridge from one event to the next, from one year to the next. Those of you respecting your competition, right, with Alexander Popov, and inviting other international competitors to train with you, right? I used those examples where you were told by some leaders, right, that look, the other competitors, other countries may get more medals, but you continue to train with them, right? They reached the final. In fact, 5 of them were in the top 8. You mentioned, and you said all ships rise with the tide. So I used that quote there in the opening ceremony, and I hope it's inspirational to the others as well.
Thank you. I'm here today, and I follow. One is an Olympic participant, and sharing what I learned from competition, this innate sense that all of us have that drives us and pushes us much further than we would otherwise take ourselves alone. And I also am here as a patient advocate, diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and really immersing myself in the pursuit of medical research and fundraising for that. My life depends on it. On medical innovation, and I just am a cheerleader in this regard, and just really encourage all of you to continue this pursuit. It is relatable, the amount of commitment and sacrifice that it takes in your respective careers, as it does at the Olympic level as a swimmer or any other athlete.
Yeah. And I'm absolutely grateful to Rob Adamowski, who's been very instrumental in making this this edition, this third edition of this event, a success. A lot of the advice that we took from him, and he was the one that introduced me to you as well. So I'm forever grateful to him. So I want to also ask you, Gary, to provide us with any update. I know you're a founder, you're a board member, very active in the patient advocacy community. What are you focused on now? What are some of your impressions from the Paris Olympics, for example? Some lessons, some observations. I know I shared those with you in that article. Please provide us with any update. And meanwhile, those of you who are in the chat here, expert judges, competitors, feel free to ask any questions yourself. Get on video as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
With Paris, the United States has always performed really well in the sport of swimming. And the medal count of 8 for Team USA this time around was a bit disappointing overall. And it is a point of transition for the organization. The CEO has since stepped down, and so they are in the pursuit of a new leadership and a new game plan. There was a noticeable absence of a national team director. And we talk about the leadership, a lot of business and accountability, and that slot that existed always previously to that past administration at USA Swimming. This accountability kind of fell on the shoulders of the national team director, and it sat vacant. And it's a shame. And so I thought we saw not abysmal, but compromised results. And then, on the medical side, there's a company that I'm watching very closely out of Miami, iTolerance, using stem cells and creating an infinite supply of pancreatic beta cells with protected immunity to our immune attack that would otherwise kill a donor cell. So these are two things that I'm very interested in.
Yeah. In fact, I'll remind the audience, just in case they don't know, that Gary Hall won an Olympic gold medalist as a type 1 diabetes patient. He was told by 2 physicians to quit the sport. Okay. And he tells this story on the All Out Coach podcast, the podcast that I started 6 years ago. I'll share it with you. But you're absolutely, inspire all of us with the work that you do.
We do what we can, and there's another metaphor. It's metaphor in that there's a team, right? That as a swimmer, I had to stand on the blocks alone, but it took a coach, a physical trainer, massage therapist, acupuncturist, dietitian, nutritionist, teammates, the support of this grouping gets you to that point. But in a relay analogy, at some point, the torch is handed to you, and you've got to carry your weight.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, we have Bob Beamon. We had Bob Beamon this year. Maybe you can provide us with a bridge of how you got to know him. You're the one that introduced me to Bob, and he inspired this audience. I mean, you cannot believe the kinds of comments I received, from everyone within pharma, and those who attended or didn't attend this event live. So he definitely inspired all of us with his story. What connection do you have with Bob, besides, of course, the Olympic gold medal?
One step back, my father was a 3-time Olympian. He competed in 68, 72, and 76. And was the president of the World Olympians Association at one point. And so growing up, I was kind of indoctrinated into this Olympic family. And I remember as a kid being sent over to a table and asking for Jesse Owens' autograph and meeting him, not knowing how incredible this person was. And I was introduced and knew of Bob when I was younger, but it wasn't until after I was done swimming that our paths crossed in an ongoing capacity. We both are attendees of the Miami Project, which is a spinal cord injury group based down in Miami, doing incredible research. And it's just an incredible cause. And Bob and I attend an event, a fundraising event in New York City every year. And it's a good time to catch up and spend a little time. But I've followed him now for many, many years, and the great work that he's done and charitable contributions to society. And so I am a fan of his Olympic accomplishment. That's set in history. The longest running Olympic record. He broke that record in 1968. And way back when my father was competing, ancient history. And to see what he's done since beyond the track is equally as impressive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. We got to learn a lot about that this year. How at this Olympics, how he managed to reinvent himself and how he was deliberate and intentional about everything he did, not only sports, but also how he managed his diabetes, kidney disease, and hypertension as well. Similar to you. I remember asking you that question. Were you as disciplined as a patient as you were as an athlete? And you said, absolutely. And he was as well, and that brings me to, one quote that I wanted to share from Chris McGough that I hope will be inspirational to learn from, your lessons, those from Bob, for our competitors, for me, for all of us, that, intentions are mere aspirations without persistence. You had to persist. You had to kind of, embrace those failures and learn from them, right? And just persist.
For every competitor out there, there is a tale of overcoming incredible adversity. And that comes in so many shapes and sizes and forms. And this is what makes the Olympics what it is. It's not a tale of victory. It's a tale of overcoming the setbacks. And that's what makes it relatable and makes us cheer. Because we've all been there.
I'll invite any of the other expert judges to ask any questions as well here. Mark is our winner this year, by the way. Mark Armstrong, physician.
Congratulations.
Won the MedTech Award. And you could see throughout the 16 days how he kept building the idea. It was remarkable. So, Mark, any questions you have for Gary?
Yeah, thank you. So you've come across real physical walls that you had to break through in your life. Do you have any practical advice for people that hit a wall and you feel like you're told that this idea won't work or this can't happen? Any thoughts on how to overcome or break through that stuff?
In a word, defiance. There's something so satisfying about defying doubters. Anybody that tells you that it can't be done, when you do that, it's such a wonderful feeling. and so, yeah. How do we do that? How do we do that when we do experience these setbacks? For me, it's the grind, and it's so simple. If you pull an 8-year-old swimmer aside and say, what are your goals? The Olympic Games seem so far away. There's so many steps. There's so many laps. There's so many strokes between here and there. But a stroke is manageable. It's one foot in front of the other. It crosses you, gets you to the finish line of a marathon or an ultra marathon or anything else you set about. And so putting one foot in front of the other, it's that simple, and not giving up on that and staying committed to, the grind. because even with 10 Olympic medals, there were a lot of days. You think, oh, here's a highly motivated individual. There were a lot of days where I didn't feel like getting out of bed. And you strap on one shoe and then you strap on the other shoe and hopefully put on some shorts or pants before that. And then, you go about it. You get in there and do it.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Great advice.
Yeah, Liz Delgado also picked up on that defiance. Big lesson for her as well. She mentions in the chat.
So if you don't mind, I want to follow up really quick with that. So you said that there are many days, which I know all of us have, where you didn't want to get up and you didn't want to do it. How? It's so easy to say, but I'm just to go from that thought, I'm not gonna sit here, but you don't feel like doing it, right? What was the thing that you would tell yourself? What was it? A song? Was it what would actually get you to put on that first article of clothes, to roll out of that bed?
Take a look around. We're surrounded by inspiring people. People that are doing incredible things, and that's part of why I'm here today. Is because you see in our moments of doubt, self-doubt, and discouragement. Take a look around. There's other people that are out there chasing something big, out to make a difference, to do something important, to do something meaningful, and make a difference in this world. And it helps. It really helps when you see that, or if you read an uplifting or inspiring book. It means something, because we oftentimes, lose sight of the sun. A rain cloud is going to roll in sooner or later, and take that away from us for a period of time. But if we wait it out, the sun will shine again. And sometimes it's just waiting it out. Life's going to be hard. There's going to be setbacks. We all know that. And so not giving up is ultimately, sometimes you just hold, right? Like, we try to move forward. We try to improve just a little bit. But sometimes it's just waiting and holding, too.
So sometimes just going through the motions, even if you're not feeling it, but you're going through the motions.
That's right. You hear artists talk about their moments of inspiration. It's not that there's something you can do to trigger that every time. Sometimes it just comes in the strangest of places at least expected times. And it's going through the motions at some point. In swimming, we would ultimately train for one meet a year. And you go through months and months where you just buried with training, just getting through it. You're just exhausted. You're pushing yourself to the point of failure. And, just skating over that thin ice of breaking through it and collapsing. And just getting through it, just putting in the work, knowing that the payoff is going to be there at the end of the season.
Yeah. Gary, when did you focus on those failures in order to learn from them? In order, is the answer to avoiding failure forgetting about it, or actually studying that failure so that you don't make that same, let's say, mistake?
Oh, just in the short time that I've been tuned in here, I heard the message. You learn. It's not that we failed, and then we did this, and then it became successful. Right. And so it's the learning process. It's the journey that people the proverbial journey that people talk about. And there is no failure. There's only, failure to learn from. And so these are all, ingrained in us, that we've heard so many times before, these message points. But it's keeping your head when all those around you are losing theirs. And really, when it comes down to it, the last 15 meters of a 100-meter freestyle, your body's searing in pain, and it's who can hold, right, and not start flailing. Who can hold the longest? Who can, and it's easy to do the right thing when things are easy, but when your body's screaming, I need air, and your brain short circuiting a little bit, remembering to do the right thing at that time, that's the difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I showed that one diagram that was inspired by watching Michael Jordan's Hall of Fame enshrinement speech. Have you by any chance seen it?
I didn't, but
No, okay.
Who isn't a fan of?
Yeah, of Michael Jordan, right? And some of the lessons I took from his 18-minute speech was the level of detail in which he revisited his failures in that Hall of Fame enshrinement speech, where he had people that had challenged him before, people that didn't let him play in that freshman year, right? His coach, and he wasn't on that Sports Illustrated cover, right? Or Jerry Reinsdorf, right? And Jerry Krause, right? And his other coaches who were in the audience, and whom he went as far as saying, "Look, I didn't invite you to this Hall of Fame speech. I didn't invite you, but at one time you told me that organizations win championships. But the way I responded to you then was that it wasn't the organization that had a high fever and that won that championship. It's not the organizations that win. It's the players. It's the performers. Those, right?" And he went, and so these weren't just grudges, but was his internal drive that he used. It was clear that he used to focus on that failure, and then tell everyone how he prevailed and how he persisted, right? Openly, and jokingly as well. But you can tell that this is a person who's self-driven and as a competitor. So that's what kind of prompted me to also kind of to ask that question, Gary. As I watched you, and your winning smile, beating records by short margins, as you've mentioned, but always just being very enthusiastic and just being a showman as well, carrying your emotions on your sleeve, and that was clear. These are images of from years ago, and thanks for reminding, by the way, all of us, that you won 10 Olympic medals, 5 of which were gold. So
I think anybody that's successful in life and anything, they know that grinding response, just kind of snakes coiling in their stomach, that the type of thing that makes you clench your jaw when you think about those defeats, or the people that are doubting you or say you didn't play you the freshman year, or they turn that angst that we know and point it in a positive direction.
Mm-hmm.
It pushes you in practice, and it pushes you on those days that you don't feel like getting up out of bed. That's relatable. I think we all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So before I ask you or Bob, depending on who will, on who we'll see on our screen here on our stage, our Innovation Olympic stage, I want to share one short snippet from our speakers who've also defied, doubters as a patient advocate and entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, Meta Durberg, and then an organizational change researcher who's one of the brightest minds in this in space and MIT graduate in engineering, as well as Wharton MBA, Wharton School, Neil Doshi. So I just want to share those snippets, and then we'll close out the games, of course.
Spending 20 years as a patient, I couldn't really walk in my late 20s, and I had a lot of other issues. My doctor's team told me I was not going to die in the immediate future, and that changed a lot for me. And being an economist, I sort of turned to pen and paper, actually, originally, started tracking what I was doing, and very quickly realized that was not going to get me anywhere. And so I turned all of my notes into Excel spreadsheets. The economists love that. And then started making some homemade algorithms. And in doing so, I started acknowledging patterns. And by seeing patterns, it became abundantly clear to me that there was a lot of insights that the system really couldn't help us capture. And so 16 months, almost to the date from my starting point, I had normalized my blood work. I had reversed my disease symptoms from 6 autoimmune conditions, and I had gone off all my medication, including biologics. At the end of the day, the most important part is, how do you get people to do the quote unquote work that is needed in order to make the behavior change, and AKA the health improvements needed for people to improve their lives, live better lives. And so where I think it could be interesting to have a conversation is really around the behavioral piece, how it fits in. Why is it that pharma is starting to pay a lot more attention to this piece? How do we actually start looking at the world not as digital therapeutics in one corner, medications in one corner, and so on, but really start looking at all of these different pieces as pieces of a larger puzzle? And only if we bring all of these different pieces together can we actually make a real change. We're not seeing a very fruitful environment. The only countries that are actually reimbursements ready are a country like Germany, where the reimbursement is so low that it doesn't really give a good economic model for these tools. It became abundantly clear that the ones that actually had the payer connections and so on and so forth, they won the market. I think Livongo was the biggest success we've seen so far with their sale to Teladoc, despite actually being able to improve on some of the most common metrics when you have an autoimmune disease or inflammation by as much as 89%. The agency have declared that they will never regulate what we do. Only how effectful our solution was, but also how the economics behind it were put together. And so being able to, in our case, save $37,500 per individual that reduced drugs was sort of the path forward. When it comes to autoimmune disease, as much as 65% are what we call non-responders. It's people who are taking their drugs timely and still not getting the effect size that they should have. And so that's the audience that we cater to.
Even on our own research on like medical professionals, what you find is that the pressure of the work has significantly increased over the last say, 40 years, and the play and purpose of the work has significantly decreased. Okay, if that's what's happening to an industry, everyone's going to burn out. You're not going to get people in the industry. And you also will get a bunch of bad things too, like worse outcomes, people cheating, gaming the system. Now,
there's some states that are actually lowering their standards for qualification, because there's such a shortage,
right? So to me, the problem is you got to get the motivation right. I mean, it's so funny. We all understand this. Like, we understand this in our own life. If you're coaching a little league team, you understand this. But we lose sight of this in organizations. It's the same exact issue. So one, start measuring motivation. It's the root. And again, we can show you how to do it. We have the most amazing ways to do it, like deeply AI-based approaches to properly measure motivation the right way. Measure motivation. Because when you measure motivation, you get to a much more accurate understanding. So let's say, for example, I said, Tim, I'm going to put you into two motivational constructs. One is construct A, where I'm going to really make sure that you love the work, you're feeling play from it, you feel like your contribution is driving things forward, like you're not stagnant, you're not stuck, you don't feel judged either. Motivation construct B, Tim, you better get this done or you're fired in a quarter. Now, let's say you're in those two constructs and I asked you, Tim, are you feeling engaged? You have to say yes in both of them.
Yeah.
And the problem is, it's because engagement is different from motivation. Engagement doesn't capture the sign of motivation, like positive or negative. And
Doesn't
so,
equal emotion, right?
yeah, 100%. And so step number one, so easy, it's just insane. Measure motivation. We have a whole chapter in Prime to Perform on how to do it. We have tools on how to do it. There's just no reason not to do it. Measure motivation.
Yeah.
There's a second thing that's really important. Imagine you are a CFO of any reasonably sized company. When I say reasonably sized, I mean go from like 250 people above. So it doesn't even have to be like 20,000. Like you could start at like 250 and ask them, do you feel like your investment in people makes sense right now? And what they're going to think is not about people in this abstract way, like, you know, Tim's a way, like, you know, Tim's a good person and his skills are growing. They're going to ask themselves, what problems are people solving? Like, what's Tim solving right now? What's Neil solving right now? That would be a good way to answer that question, by the way, because you would start to see, oh, you know, our problem solving velocity is heavily tilted towards task orientation or short-termism or X, Y, and Z. The amazing thing is, today, an organization can actually measure problem-solving velocity by category of work. That is a thing that we can do today. Honestly, you couldn't have done this 10 years ago, but you can do it today. So what ends up happening is you can give your CFO a measure of, okay, you know, we spend $1 billion every year on salaries.
Mhm.
And here's how that time is broken out by the types of problems that we're solving. Because right now, you don't see the distortions that the systems are creating. Like, the CEO doesn't see the short-termism in the system. They only see it in the outcomes. They don't see it in the system. You got to create system measures. You create system measures, all this becomes like a Christmas tree. You see all the lights everywhere. Like, it's plainly visible. But you get those things done, you can see what you want to see. But here's the thing, Tim, you don't need to even do that. Replace the 5 processes. Start with getting your 5 workflows that matter dialed right, and all of the rest of this will just come with it.
Just. And so I would say it's, well, say in my conversations when I open up.
So I want to pass the baton to you to officially, formally open the games.
Well,
Please, Bob.
well, let us just open it up, just like I say, you know, you got to open up your heart. You got to open it up because there's a lot of things to digest. And so I would say it's open, Tim. It's open.
All right.
And let's rock and
Let's
roll.
clap, everyone. All right. So I saw Bob earlier enter the, enter the stage, but I've lost him here. I don't see him. I sent him an email, so I'm waiting to hear. But I wanted to make sure that you saw how he formally opened the games.
I'm pretty sure what Bob just said there was officially closing the games. But I'll just reiterate that this is the official closing of the Medical Affairs Innovation Olympics 2024. Pretty sure he just said, keep up the great work. And he also said, keep rocking and rolling.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you so much. This relationship is more than just asking you to speak, to be a keynote speaker, have an agreement that we of course had with you and with Bob. And I consider you my mentors, as I mentioned. But also I deeply value your gesture, both of you, on a personal level, not on a business level, but on a personal level, to take this time out of your busy days to share some inspiration with us. So
thanks
thank
so much,
you.
Tim.
God bless you both. Thank you very much.
Keep up the great work you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have Bob Beamon, everyone. Olympic legend, former world record holder, the longest world record holder at one time, and current Olympic record holder in the long jump in track and field to this day. About to celebrate its 56th birthday on October 18th. Bob, you inspired our entire healthcare community who attended this from all across the globe. Thank you for those personal lessons that you shared in the opening ceremony, and I greatly value your time and your gesture to formally close out the games. Any impressions, any final comments you have?
Well, I think that, actually, I was on, Tim, I was on for quite some time, just listening to all of the participants today. So what I really got out of it was that, relating to my experience as an athlete, and then I then become a businessman. But in all of that, it took some hard work and some real tough training. And I'm not talking about training on the track or training in getting myself ready for the 1968 Olympic Games, but being ready as a person. A good example is sometimes there are obstacles that jump out there, and you've got to find a way of working either around it or jumping over it. And on many occasions, I've been able to jump over it in terms of obstacles that have come. And one example I could tell you about was in 1968, prior to the athletes going over to Mexico City. We had a doctor that had to check out all of our vital signs right before we went over to Mexico. And they put a stop on me and said that I could not participate because I had a heart murmur. And now that is one unbelievable shortcoming. Immediately, how do you deal with that? And of course, the executive director and the others talked about it, and we came up with a plan, and they checked it again, and they said he's done this for so many years, I guess, so he might as well let's send him on. But just something real slight like that can set you back emotionally, mentally, and maybe make a difference in your performance when you're actually competing in the Olympic Games. However, I've been there and been able to go through many obstacles and successfully be able to come out really looking good on them. So it was not a difficult thing to overcome, as far as I'm concerned. But for some other people, it could be. The other thing too is that sometimes I would think about, the difficult way of how do I really get here, and I use the term uh, because I've lost so many races before I started to win. So I, it was always said it's an upward climb to the bottom, and I would start out in my early years of experiencing that upward climb to the bottom because I never had the opportunity to win until I was 12 or 13 years old. And so, but I had this thing that, I was always around greater athletes than me. And so I think that made a big difference too, because I wanted to be as great as they were or better. And so uh, your conference has done uh, something similar. I mean, I was just in awe of listening to some of the doctors and participants that talked about uh, the the sports part of their life, but also the transitional into their professional life. You had doctors and stuff, and then of course we listened to Gary. I listened to Gary today. It was knowing that he had diabetes, and I know what it's like to have diabetes, and to know that you're going to have this for the rest of your life. You got to deal with that, and I had to deal with it later in life of diabetes, and so those things you have to be ready to overcome from a medical point of view. So I'm truly blessed, Tim, that you have given me the opportunity to give a little bit of my story about how winning and losing can come out. And if you stir it up in a pot, you're going to come out with something really great. So that's all about the competition of life.
Competition of life. I love how you put that. Absolutely. Look, many years ago, I knew that jump, that distance, 890. And you can love sports all you want, but there's an added benefit of getting to know the sports athlete behind those performances. So I've just been blessed and, by destiny to have had the chance to meet you and learn a lot more about you. Thanks to this event, thanks to my initiative, our initiative on the steering committee, and as an enthusiast of sports myself, I want to personally and publicly make a promise to you and to Gary, as I did earlier, but that I will continue to do my best to be successful, to continue to make progress, and to value this time that you spend here with us, so that you will see also and be able to witness how our initiatives continue to grow in significance and in quality next year and years ahead. From what I am doing at Amadea Pharma is very challenging. I know that lofty vision that we have, bringing sports and science to improve productivity in the workplace, to create a new way of working, beginning with healthcare and medical affairs. But I'm a sports athlete. I'm not afraid of challenges. So I'm making that commitment to you as a mentor, as a champion, as a legend, in addition to family, friends, and colleagues as well. So I'll keep you posted. I want to make both you and Gary proud of and glad to have participated here. And I value the personal gesture, again, not only the business but the personal gesture to be here to share this inspiration. So I will continue to work hard, and I look forward to our future conversations. And I'll share your inspiration with a lot of the leaders in healthcare in our industry, who I think can begin to think a little differently and feel better about themselves, to open up, as you said. Right, a big lesson that I think you taught everyone. So all that's missing now is for you to say those words that we've all accustomed to hear as we close this year's edition of the Medical Affairs Innovation Olympics. Bob, you have the honor, of course.
For the 2024, your event has been wonderful. But as we say, we have to open it, but we also at some point have to close it too. But with a wonderful experience that there were so many people that came to the table with so many different ideas, so many types of experiences that you couldn't but not come out with some incredible thoughts or experiences that could some way in your lifetime be able to use at some point as a professional or as an athlete. What I would like to say, the games, the lectures, the experiences with each other is now at a closing. And we will see you next year.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. That's how we ended last year's event. If you caught any of this live stream this Sunday, join the party, the celebration, the festival that we're putting together. It's something that you will not forget. Huge business opportunity, whether you attend, you compete, you become a judge or a sponsor of this event to support advancing access, quality, and continuity of healthcare. That's our mission. And we're bringing an Olympic force and spirit in order to make sure that it comes true. See you soon.